I'm very aware today that it's exactly 10 years ago this week that this community first met as a community. Back then, we were Zen Nova Scotia, not Thousand Harbours Zen, and we met in a tiny space here in Halifax on Quinpool. And there are a couple of people here who I think were there 10 years ago, which makes me really happy to see. And I say this in part because I think this is something to celebrate, and I want us to celebrate it. It's low-hanging fruit, right? It's 10 years. We recognize that. We know that these little milestones, even though in a way they're arbitrary, they're not. They matter. And so I want to hold this up for all of us today, that there's a community, even though that community has changed in many, many ways, that has sustained itself for a decade and is still right here. I'm very happy and I'm very proud to be part of that. So I want to hold it up, and I also thought I would take the opportunity to talk a little bit about how it is that a community like this gets to 10 years, or to 20 years, or to 30, or to 40, or to 50. When we met at the start in that little space on Quinpool, I didn't know if many people would come. There were a couple of good people who had told me I'll be there. So I didn't expect to show up and be alone. But even then, you don't know if someone will come the following week or the following week. So there was something tenuous about it. But what was tenuous about it was that particular shape of renting this space in this place and doing it this way. But there's another part of it that was always certain. And the reason it was always certain was because I was always going to do this practice. And part of doing this practice is that you invite other people to do this practice. That was going to happen whether that particular space worked out or not. That was going to happen whether people came the second week or the third week or not. And maybe it would have looked like me in a park, right? Or on a street corner. Maybe if people hadn't come, maybe we would have found this Zoom thing much sooner. I don't know. But some version of it was always very solid. I'm grateful that it didn't end up with me on a street corner and a placard saying, "Do you want to learn how to do Zazen?" People came and people stayed. And people gave tremendous amounts of energy and time to this thing that has even changed name in the course of its short existence, this thing that may or may not be actual. It's not possible to talk about the practice of the Buddha Dharma without talking about dana, which is the first paramita, the first perfection, the perfection of generosity, and what dana looks like. And I don't want to limit it. Dana takes a lot of different forms. Sometimes Dana, is taking a worm off of the sidewalk. Sometimes Dana is writing a check. But when we take it up as a practice, it becomes a foundation and a reflection of how we understand the world. I was thinking about this today, and this was the analogy that came to mind. And please forgive me if it falls apart midway, but this was what I was thinking of. Because almost every day I drive by a fire station. And I know some firefighters, and I know some of the work that they do. It's remarkable. It's remarkable that we have this thing in society, right? You're very lucky if you never have to meet a firefighter, right? You're very lucky if they never have to come to your home. You're very lucky if you can kind of keep them in the background. But they're there. And we pay for them to be there. We pay taxes. And then we have this kind of quiet knowledge that there's a fire department and there are firefighters and there are fire trucks. And when we need them, they'll come. And the question that comes to mind for me, and maybe some of you will feel this in the same way that I do, is what if our taxes didn't pay for the fire department? What if we had to opt in? Not so that we could get that service, because everyone would get that service. The fire department would come no matter what. They would put out the fire no matter what. But just knowing that they're out there, that they will come no matter what, we still have to make a choice. Do we contribute to the fire department or not? I think a lot of people would choose not. We might think that we would choose yes, because we understand intellectually that it matters. But if they really are kind of invisible, and if we really know that it won't change the outcome for us, we might just kind of forget. I think that's real. I don't think that's a cynical view. And then I think who would give money to the fire department? I think there are two groups that come to mind right away. One is those who have already felt supported by the fire department. They came once. When the house was on fire, the firefighters came. So there's a connection there. When maybe when your grandfather was having a heart attack, they came. So they're real, and their value is real, and their presence is felt. And so those people, they might donate to the fire department. And then there's another category of people, and I think probably much smaller, but also imaginable, who kind of feel that they're putting money in the bank because they don't want to feel guilty, right? And what they're thinking is, well, just if the day comes when I need to call the fire department, I don't want to be the person who didn't put money in the pot. I don't want to be the person who does it after. So I'm going to do it now because I have a kind of preemptive guilt. Those are both decent reasons. And then I think there's a third group. The third group just simply wants it to be there. Not just there, but they want the trucks to be in good condition. And they want the firefighters to be trained, and they want people to be able to eat. They don't want to just rely on the fact that it's going to be there no matter what. And so they just give anyway. All of this is a really long way of saying part of dana is noticing what supports you, and then it's supporting that thing in return. Part of dana is noticing what supports others and supporting that thing, because we want others to have that thing. In a community like this, we really fight the idea of there being any transactional relationships. And you can go through, the hundreds of talks that I've given, and you'll see me using this word over and over, transactional, right? That we don't make it transactional. We don't make the practice transactional. We don't make relationships transactional. We're always pushing back against this. And then if you were to listen to the conversations of the board, and as I said, the board members have changed over 10 years, but the conversation doesn't change. It comes back over and over again to not making the relationship transactional. So, for example, we don't have a membership system where people pay a certain amount per month and that lets them in. Everybody's in, right? Just like that imaginary fire department, this community, this practice is always, always available. If you are someone who is donating $10,000 a month to this community, if you are that person, we aren't getting your check, so please let us know. But we need to talk. But if you're that person, or if you're the person who is still new and still trying to kind of figure out what your relationship is to it at all, and standing at some distance, what is on offer to you is the same. Exactly the same. And always will be the same. I think in some ways that can be frustrating. I think the reason that so many groups have moved to a membership model is because it's easier. It's easier on the mind. We don't have to make a decision. We just understand, oh, I care about this. And someone is telling me that if I care about this, I should pay $35 a month. I can do that. What we do complicates things a little bit. And I know that. Because what this community asks is, do you feel supported? If you do feel supported, can you in turn offer support? At a big center, sometimes there are lots of ways of expressing that. There might be grounds, for example. And so people come and they cut the grass and they trim the hedges and they sweep and contribute in all of those ways. They work in the kitchen. Right? Here, it's more limited, always has been. But if any little thing that you see about this community, anything that has happened in the last 10 years has been because someone decided to do it, Board members, we have our president and our vice president here in the temple today by chance. So they're showing up tonight, but they show up a lot. Our board shows up a lot. Past boards have shown up a lot. And they dedicate weekends and they dedicate hours. And they get stuck in these long email chains about difficult conversations. They organize the retreats. They write and revise the bylaws. They work with the province. All of these things get done because someone just gets them done. The website, same. The podcast, the channel on YouTube, all of it. The fact that we have this camera that follows me around the room like magic is because of donations that allowed us to purchase that thing to serve the practice in a particular way. People ask me sometimes very, very kindly how they can support me as a priest. And sometimes this comes out of the blue, and sometimes it happens at something like a retreat. And people want to know if there's a basket for me. There's no basket for me. Because the way to support me is to support the organization that supports me. And the organization that supports me is Thousand Harbours. We trust them. And that's not just because I'm at the bottom of some flowchart with everything trickling down. It's because of my understanding of my role. In Japan, in some circles, they wouldn't call me Koun anymore because now there's a temple. They would call me Sensoji. They would call me the temple name. Because my role in their eyes makes me indistinguishable from this building and from the community that is served by this building. It's one and the same. And so to support this is to support me. To support me is to support that. And more importantly, to support any of it is to support everyone else on the screen and everyone else in this room. It's to support all the people who haven't even shown up yet. The ones who will discover this tomorrow in some random internet search and discover some new authentic taste that they never knew. Some way of holding themselves in this moment that they never knew. It hasn't happened yet, but we're ready for them. We support them because we're supported and because we're going to be supported by them the moment they arrive. I talk sometimes about guest and host. I think so much of this practice, and maybe particularly the practice of dana, speaks to at least the seed of the spiritual confidence that is needed to be both at the same time, which is what this tradition has always invited of us. That when you enter this temple, you understand that you are a guest and that you are the host. That you are being supported and that you are supporting simultaneously and perfectly all the time. So at the beginning of this new year, if I have a wish for all of you, it's that It's that you find that taste of that confidence, where you feel how it is to be here. Not expecting, and not simply serving, but offering in this big way. Holding up whatever it is that holds you up. Not just here, but everywhere. Looking around at who is taking care of you and taking care of them. That's my New Year's wish. And that's where I'll stop.